Welcome to Leaders Lead Podcast. Are you ready to conquer your challenges and achieve greatness? Join us as we dive into inspirational stories of industry leaders who have overcome adversity and reached new heights. Get ready for electrifying insights and captivating conversations that will ignite your passions for success. This is your go-to show for empowerment, growth, and leadership. Buckle up. Leaders Lead Podcast is here to take you on a transformational ride. Hey, welcome. This is Tony Taylor. I am super excited. Today, we get to speak with Joe DePinto, the Mayor of Yelm. And if you're looking at the title, you read that correctly. We're going to talk about service, community, and Star Trek. Hey, what's going on, Joe?
Hey, Tony. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. I know we've been talking about doing this for quite some time. You said yes, and I'm super excited. Where are you at today? Look like you're in a ship or something, man.
Oh, I'm in my home office, but it's a better background, I think, than books and couch.
I think so. So tell me, how long have you been the mayor, man?
It's my third year as mayor.
Third year. How's that going so far?
That's its ups and downs, but I've been enjoying it. Serving the people of Yelm. It's my hometown, so it's been an honor and it's been a privilege.
Oh, I think I missed it. So you're actually from Yelm, huh?
I am.
That's awesome. So I was curious. I was reading. You have a really diverse background. You started as working at Pizza Hut.
Yeah, that was my first job.
Was it? You went from working at Pizza Hut, then to working with Congresswoman Kathy McMorris Rogers. How did that, if any of all of that experience, how did that influence your leadership as the mayor of Yelm?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of jobs between that too. I didn't just skip from Pizza Hut to the Congresswoman's office. I started off at Pizza Hut. Then that was my first job. My buddies got the job for me, hooked me up with the job, as sometimes happens when you're 16 years old. And it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot from that. The biggest thing I learned from Pizza Hut was actually customer service. But some basic skills that I've kept with me throughout my whole life. And that's one of the things that they teach at Pizza Hut is the LAST system, or they used to, LAST: listen, apologize, satisfy, and thank. And I take that with me on everything. You listen to the customer if they have an issue. Most of the time when they're calling to complain, it's because the pizza's not right or something. You listen to them. Apologize. Say, hey, I'm sorry that you had that experience or whatever. You make it right. You satisfy them by either giving them a free pizza or, crediting it or something like that. And you thank them. You thank them for being the customer, giving you a second chance. And I take that throughout my whole life. But after that, I went to Dairy Queen. I worked there. I opened up the first Dairy Queen here in Yelm. Actually, that was the first group that was hired there, and that was fun, enjoyable. Then I went to college at Eastern Washington University, and then from there I got an intern. Well, a lot of things happened in college, but long story short, I got to the Congresswoman's through an internship, and then a job with her for a little bit, and then I got my career, I guess, is in politics as a legislative aide, starting with a lady named Susan Fagan. And then for most of it was for a gentleman named Paul Harris, who's a state representative. He's still there right now, and he's running for state Senate now. And so that's got me to where I'm at as mayor. And
So your full-time job is what again?
I'm a lobbyist. So I'm a lobbyist at the state. I work for mainly cities, and I also subcontract with bigger lobbyists for some of their bigger clients.
Oh, that's awesome. So the only reason that I know what a lobbyist is because of the shows that I watch on TV. So for our listeners and for our viewers, can you tell me what exactly a lobbyist is? Like what do they do?
Yeah. So a lobbyist is basically a professional advocate. You're advocating on behalf of businesses, organizations, cities, whatever group or individual or organization that hires you. So I'm a contract lobbyist. To start off there's two different types of lobbyists. There's in-house and there's contract. So in-house is like Boeing. Boeing has a bunch of in-house lobbyists. That's all they do is they work for Boeing and their issues. As a contract lobbyist, Boeing would say, "Hey, I like you to I like to supplement our lobbying power, our internal in-house lobbyists with you. So we'll contract with you for this session, and we have this one issue that's, let's say they're trying to get a huge tax break. So I work specifically on that issue. But as a contract lobbyist, I typically have a few different clients, and I go for, let's say, for cities, I try to get more funding for them, make sure their issues are heard, and it usually has to do with like public safety, transportation, capital budget, big capital budget requests, stuff like that.
Wow. So I would imagine that your background as and let me know if I'm wrong about this, but I would imagine that your background as a lobbyist plays a big part in the things that you're able to do and get done for the city of Yelm. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say so. I bring a different perspective than most of the mayors that we've had in the past here. And my big focus for Yelm has been always to do more with less. And we've been doing that. We've been able to achieve a lot of money through grant funding. And so a good example is our dog park that we just bought. You know, I I'm pretty fiscally conservative, and so I'm not trying to raise taxes or anything like that. I try to live within our means with the taxes that we have and the revenue that's coming in. And a dog park's very expensive. You wouldn't expect it. You say, "Oh, I'll throw up a few fences and you'll be good." But it's not that. You have to put in the pipes for the water. You have to put in the asphalt for the parking if you want a decent dog park, and up to code and standards for at least our municipality of Yelm. And so the project total cost was probably around 800,000 ish or so, including acquisition for property and the building of all the stuff. And when you hear that, it's like, wow, that's a lot of money for a dog park. But the people of Yelm, our tax dollars in our general budget, we funded about 15, 20% of it out of our coffers. The rest of that came from state funding and federal funding. So we were able to get grant funding from places that we normally don't get. And we were able to lower that cost, and they paid for about 80, 85% of it. And so we got a wonderful park. It's beautiful. It's the best one in Thurston County for sure. And there's an area for small dogs. Oh, it's not even comparable. There's only like 2 dog parks in Thurston County, so it's not like a huge stretch.
We got one in Lacey out by the dump. Have you been to that one?
Yeah. I have. Yeah.
It's better than that one.
Yeah, it's a little bit better. Not to throw shade on Lacey, but yeah, it's better than that one.
Oh man, you're gonna get some of my friends mad at me. Oh man, that's awesome. So you said that you got 85% of that paid for by grants and outside funding. Is that something that the community know?
Yeah, I think we've been pretty good at communicating that, but I mean that's the biggest thing with politics and being a politician, I suppose, is how effective you are at communicating. And there's always room for improvement. I don't care who you are, you can improve on communications. And that's what I feel like I'm a pretty transparent guy. I try to push out as a lot of information as I can to the people and make sure they're informed. And if they want something, I try to go for it, and I try to tell them, this, if one way or the other, this is how I think that we can go after it, or this is why I don't think it's feasible and why we can't. But it's always a struggle to communicate everything to the people, because everyone wants to know what's going on. And if you miss a Facebook post, if you miss a email blast, or you don't see it on city council on one of our videos, it's hard to follow. And I'm trying my best to make sure people understand or know, or what they want to know from our government. I feel like for the most part, if people wanted information from our government and it's information that I have, I'd love to give it to them. There's personnel stuff that, I can't necessarily share. Just like any business, you don't want to talk about some of the personnel issues, but in the grand scheme of things, everything should be, for the most part, transparent and accessible to the people.
Wow. No, I love that. That's the way that you're thinking. A lot of times my beef with some of the government entities is that they'll have some amazing stuff going on. They'll have some amazing funding rounds of funding that they've been able to secure, you have people in the public, they'll be complaining, oh, we're spending our tax dollars on this, we're spending our tax dollars on that, when it's like, no, this was kind of free.
Yeah.
But it's just a lot of times it's that communication piece that I notice where they don't know. So I'm glad that you all are taking that approach. Have y'all thought about starting a podcast maybe?
No, we haven't. We just started our own community. We just hired my first year in office. We hired a communications and recreation coordinator, and so that was the first start. I'm open to it. If I chat with her and Lynn, she's doing a great job for us for the city. I'd be open to it though. Having the possibility or the discussion of it.
Yeah. Yeah. The reason why I said that, because I'm one of those people, when I first started my podcast, I had no idea. I thought it was for like nerds I am a nerd, but I'm like, nobody wants to listen to a podcast. And I would say probably about 10 years went by. And I'm just like, all of a sudden, I'm like, oh man, I should have started a podcast a long time ago, because a lot of people, that's where they get their information from, especially locally, which I had no idea. So I wanted to ask you, can you share, because you and we talked a little bit about the campaign trail, some of the things that you've gone through. Can you share a campaign trail moment that would best illustrate what Yelm means to you, considering your deep connection to the community?
Sure. I can't necessarily think of a specific instance, but I will say that one of my favorite parts of one of my favorite and least favorite is doorbelling, meeting people at their homes. And sometimes it sucks because I know I don't want people coming to my house and, knock on my door, interrupting my day. But it's also really informational, and it's good to have, like for me, when I visit someone's house, they're usually very surprised and kind of shocked that I'm there. First I was a city council member and I was doing that, and you'd be hard pressed to find someone who doorbell more doors than I have in Yelm. I've thousands upon thousands. There's probably about 2,700 or so households in Yelm, and I've visited the vast majority of them, most of them multiple times because I've had multiple elections. I try to visit. So a lot of people don't know when elected officials, at least the more sophisticated campaigns, when they're looking to meet people at the doors, they go to usually third-party apps, like a vendor is saying, hey, here's all the people, here's a list of people, of voters. First of all, and not everyone votes. And it's sad, but most people don't vote.
Really?
Yeah, we get about 20 to a high 30s percentage, like 37% in Yelm for most of our local elections. So anyway, I go door to door to reach the people that do vote. And so if you vote every election, the primary, the general, 9 times out of 10, I've seen you at your house in Yelm because you vote. And I need to make sure that people who vote hear my thoughts, hear, what my passion is, what my goals are for Yelm and as mayor. And one of the best things that I hear from is, you're the first politician or elected official that's ever been to my door. And I love hearing that. I mean, I love hearing I don't. I mean, it's sad that I'm the first, but it's also, I gain so much, I guess, trust from these people when I'm talking to them just casually. I'm just saying, hey, I'm Joe. I'm the mayor here for the city of Yelm. I'm running for re-election. If I run for re-election, I'm running for re-election. Is there any issues that are important to you, or is there anything that you could give some criticism to me about? And they usually talk about traffic here in Yelm. Traffic's always one of the biggest issues. Public safety is always on people's minds. Ensuring our water rates don't increase, and more recreational opportunities. Those are the biggest things that I hear at the door, and I go with it. That's what I do as mayor. I take the top issues and I focus on them. I focus on my 3 main ones haven't changed, 3 or 4 haven't changed since I first started in running when I was 2015. And it's public safety, it's recreational opportunities for youth and adults. And let me expand a little bit. For public safety, it's getting 2 officers on the streets at all times. There's times we have a small gap in between the wee hours of the night, where we don't have 2 officers on duty at all times. And so we are going to hopefully have that.
Did you say 2?
Yeah. Yelm's a small agency for police. When I first started there, we had about 15 or 16, I believe, full-time officers.
Oh,
And then
wow.
now we have 19. So in 3 years, we've added about four officers. And that's not including all the replacing of people that are retired and all that. That's just,
Talk that
yeah.
stuff, Joe. That's a tribute. That's a tribute to your work, right? I would think.
Well, not just me, but also I have a great management team, and it makes my job a lot easier as mayor when I have solid, like a police chief that I can trust. My city administrator, Todd Stansel, he used to be a police chief. I trust him implicitly. He runs mainly the day-to-day operations because I have a day job. It's technically a part-time job as mayor, and so he's there, the professional doing it day to day. So I trust him implicitly. We talk multiple times a day. I visit City Hall multiple times a day, and we're always in communication. But I trust all these people, and the reason I'm able to have success as mayor is because of them, because of my leadership team, and it doesn't just stop at the leadership team. It goes all the way down to literally our custodian, Billy. He's a great custodian. He's always has a great attitude. He does the job well, and I could just list off everyone who's on our team and we have about 73 full-time employees now, and they're all
Wow.
great. They're all amazing. Yeah. And if they're not, they usually don't last too long here in Yelm. We make sure that we're upholding them to the highest standards here in Yelm, but we also treat them really well. We moved from a normal work week, 8 hours, 40 hours a week, to a 10-hour day. So we do 4 10s for Monday through Thursday for most of our employees. And we start a little bit earlier and we get out a little bit later. But most of the employees have really appreciated that, having the 3-day weekend. And it's been great. And we also offer telecommuting once a week. So if their job allows for it, if their position allows for it, some don't. Like, you can't be a police officer and telecommute. And we're yeah. So and this has also been great and it starts with the community, though, why we did it. And it starts with the residents and the customers using our services. So normally, if we're open from 8 o'clock till 5 o'clock, those are also hours that, most people work, or a lot of people do. And so by opening up a little bit earlier and closing a little bit late, we're hoping that they can, and we have seen it, people come in early and then come in very late to either pay their bills or get information on something or turn something in.
I would imagine that employee. Wait a second. You just did something. I just noticed you did something. I was giving you some praise on you building up that place, right? And what you did was you turned it around and pointed at the people.
Yeah, but that's how it is, though. I mean, any leader will tell you that if they tell you it's them doing it, this is all me, they're lying to you, because it's usually not. Like 9 times out of 10, it's the people that are making them look good, the people that work for them, the people that are supporting them, that makes them look good.
Oh man, I'm glad that you said that. I can definitely tell that you are a leader that lead. And I think that is really cool that you went door to door. If our mayor knocked on our door, that would be so cool. Yeah, I can't even imagine not voting for somebody that would do that, unless you just like really hate the person. But if you knock on my door, I'm like, you know what? I'm voting for Joe.
A lot of people are like that, though. I mean, if I don't want to say I have like unconditional loyalty from everybody, but when I go to a person's door, I get a lot of times they go, "You got my vote," at the end of it, at the end of our conversation. Some are just annoyed that I'm at their door, and I get a fair share of that too.
Really?
Like, oh yeah, because they don't want to get bothered, and sometimes they're at dinner with their family, and I'm like, "Hey, sorry, here's a little information about me. Have a nice night," and I just take off, and that's probably I'd say about 40 to 50% of the people are just, thanks for the information, take off type.
Really? I would be like, Hey, Joe, I got some macaroni and cheese in here. You want Have you ever gotten invited in?
Yeah. Every once in a while. I'd say probably about like 5% of the people invite me to their homes. And I'm always a little cautious, like, what could happen, And most times it's just, it's harmless, and they're excited to see me. They offer me water or a cookie or something, and they want to talk more. But it also, time is money too, not money, but it's how many people I can visit in a day. And so I try to keep it fairly short. But yeah, if I'm chat, sometimes I want to chat like 15, 20 minutes. And I give them the time because they don't normally have that opportunity to chat with a mayor as freely and casually like that. So I try to make sure that they're heard and I listen to what they have to say. And if I can give them answers, I give them answers. If I can't, I tell them send me an email or shoot me a message on Facebook, and I'll try to get the actual message to you.
Wow. And you're really responsive on Facebook. It looks like, I would imagine.
I try to be. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. What about when you were on the campaign trail? Because I know I shared this with you. My wife mentioned that if I ever ran for office, that she would divorce me. We have a very loving and healthy relationship, and I think she just wants to keep it there. Did you
Yeah.
notice, were there any challenges for you personally? And you could not share or whatever, but any challenges that you noticed while you were running for mayor?
Yeah. So it takes a big toll on your family. And many people don't notice or know how much of an impact it is. But when you're out there doorbelling, when you're out there sign waving or campaigning or whatever it is, that's time away from your family and your loved ones that you would normally have. And it is rough. I so during council, when I was a council member and as I was running for mayor, I got married and then I got divorced through all that.
Oh,
I wouldn't say it's from the campaign, but taking time away from my loved ones and all that, it does take a toll and it does have an impact. And yeah, the time though, that's the biggest thing. It takes time away from whatever else you're doing, whether it's your family, your friends, whether it's your job. It does take a significant amount of time and dedication to publicly serve.
wow. Thank you for sharing that. Is there anything that you know now that you would give to the future leaders, whether it's leaders in organizations, in corporate organizations, or leaders in government work? Is there something that you learned that you can pass on to the future leaders?
That's a big question,
Or,
man.
or, okay, let's frame it like this. If I just said, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to start a campaign in my house for me to run for mayor, and my wife is on board now. What would you tell me?
I would say make sure you doorbell. Make sure you try to get a mailer out. Like just the logistics part of it. If you want to
Uh-huh.
win, you got to have some branding, some basic, have a platform of ideals of what you want, what do you want to accomplish. I'd say be effective at communicating. Make sure you listen. That's the biggest part. Your your podcast, it's you got to listen. Leaders lead, but they also listen.
Mm.
And I think that's the biggest part for any leader or any, whether you're a politician or whether you're CEO of a company. You got to listen to others, or else you're not going to get different perspectives. I'm not right 100% of the time. No one is. The Republican Party, the Democratic Party, they're not right 100% of the time, and that what frustrates me with politics and partisanship in general. Is just like, you clearly don't think you're like, come on, you can't think you're right 100% of the time. Some ideas from the other side are right. And I think people get frustrated with that too, but that's another story. But the biggest thing is to listen. Just listen to everybody, as many people as you can, get as many different perspectives as you can on an issue, and you can make the best decision.
Ooh, I love that. Leaders listen. Where so after the campaign, were there any unexpected challenges that you face at May since you become mayor? And how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a. There was one big challenge I'd say that was. It shouldn't have been as controversial. It was, but Yelm had its first Pride Festival a couple years back, and this was during my second year as mayor. So this was last year. Excuse me. This is last year. Time flies when you're having fun as mayor. But last year we had a Pride Festival, and it got and it got some controversy because not so much the Pride Festival. They were fine. Most of the folks in town were fine with that, but a lot of people had an issue with a drag show that was going to be held at our community center. And you know, I try to. as long as someone does go through all the correct steps, follows the laws, and I try to treat everyone as equally as possible. One of the reasons I ran was I felt like it was kind of a good old boy system in Yelm. I don't think that, whether your sexual orientation or the color of your skin or your age or any other things that people can discriminate against, I don't think that should be held against you if you're you're working with your government. This is America. Everyone's equal. And so, whether I agree with you or not, I need to uphold the laws and your rights as a resident here in Yelm. And it's a very difficult thing to do when there's very vocal people on each side saying, one thing or the other, whether they want them to be here, whether they don't want them to be here. It's emotional for a lot of people. It's very personal for a lot of people. And there's people in Yelm that think I'm super conservative, and there's people that think I'm super liberal. And I guess that's a good thing. I try to be in the middle. I consider myself a Republican, but I'm a pretty moderate Republican. Mainly the tax issues, the fiscal policies. I try to be as conservative as I can for the city. But that was probably one of my most difficult things, and it got a lot of attention because there was threats of violence from each side, and there was also threats of litigation from each side. And both of those aren't fun things or things you want to hear about when you're a mayor of a city.
Yeah.
And so we had to be very careful in how we move forward to ensure the safety of everybody. And we had great partners with State Patrol, Washington State Patrol, with the Thurston County Sheriff's Office, with other local municipalities. And we appreciate all their partnerships. And we were able to make sure that everyone was entitled to their freedoms, whether it's a freedom of speech in one way or the other. Everyone was, and it went out pretty peaceful. There was some protesting on each side, but it was very peaceful and nothing happened. So we were happy. And yeah, but that was probably one of the most difficult things that I had to deal with. I got personal attacks like on me and my business, and it sucks, but part of the price you pay for being mayor or being an elected official.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So, and that was the first time that they have done that, right? That they've done the parade.
Correct. We didn't have a parade or anything. We just had the Pride Festival, and then they had a drag show in the community center. The big thing, I think, for the drag show was that they start off as an all ages drag show, which anytime you allow children to witness things that some view as just adults only, you're going to have some issues. And so they are not going to be doing it again in Yelm. It sounds like this year, they're going to do it in the Thurston County Fairgrounds. And so, yeah, that's where we're at right now with it.
I love it. I on to another question. What aspect of your role as mayor bring you the most joy? This is my favorite question, man.
There's a lot of cool things about being mayor. One of the cool things, like I told you, I grew up here in Yelm. And so I went to all the schools here in Yelm. It's really cool to go back to the schools. And I'm a pretty casual guy. I don't take I take the role seriously, but I don't take myself as seriously, I suppose is the best way to say it. I'm pretty casual. So if someone wants to, like, oh, hey, Mayor, how are you? It's like, just call me Joe. I'm, in certain formal settings, like if we're doing a city council meeting, that's important to, have the respect and decorum that you should have at one of those business meetings. But if I'm going to like a school or something, or I'm out in the grocery store and someone's like, hey, Mayor, I was like, just call me Joe or call me Mayor Joe. That's what I've been going on Mayor Joe. But one of the coolest things for me is going back to these schools and chatting with the students. And they think I'm like a rock star or celebrity in some of these places. Like, oh, you're the mayor. Like, hey, talking to them, chatting with them about, and I'm pretty straight up. And so if they ask me a question, I'll give them a real answer. And I think they appreciate that. Me just treating them as adults. And, I still remember, I'm not that old. I'm 37. I still remember in high school and in college, I just wanted to be treated with respect and dignity, just like anyone else does. And so that's what I try to treat them, whether they're a kid, a student, or adult. I try to treat people with respect.
Wow, that's amazing. It sounds like that might be your superpower.
Maybe.
What would you say your superpower is as far as you being mayor and being able to get stuff done?
Trying to build consensus, I think, on I have a city council that it's a fairly conservative council, and so whenever there's anything to do with fiscal matters, when we're increasing the budget for an unexpected item or something, when we're buying something, trying to, and I wouldn't say it's a superpower of mine, but trying to get them to understand the importance of certain things, and if it is a certain issue that it's really important, I'll have some one-on-ones with some of the council members that I know that would have a difficult decision, or if they're leaning against something, I'll try to chat with them before just to have a one-on-one and say, hey, this is why I think this is a good idea. And if they have issues, like, what are your concerns? And maybe it's something I haven't thought about. I was like, good point. Let's look at it and make it better. But yeah, listening, I guess, is trying to understand. But my superpower is understanding there's multiple perspectives. That's probably my superpower. Anything I do, I understand that there's different perspectives for every single thing. And it might be something I haven't thought about, which, could happen. Does happen.
Wow. So yeah, that's so cool. So are you going to run for mayor next term?
Most likely. I haven't said anything yet officially, but most likely I will.
I like that. I like that. What do you think? What do you think? Like, or how do you actively work to improve the lives of the residents in Yale?
I think the biggest thing is to focus on the things that are important for the community. And it's not rocket science. I watch Facebook. I see what people are talking about, everyone's, and not everyone on Facebook is a resident here in Yelm, but if they're in Yelm groups, I figure they've got some vested interest in our community, and I try to implement what they want, and that leads to more recreational opportunities, public safety. They want to feel safe, just like any community. Traffic's one of the biggest issues. And so I've been focusing a lot of my time on traffic, trying to reduce, working with different partners from WASDOT, from Nisqually Indian tribe, excuse me, the county, the feds, everyone that I can to make sure that these projects are completed. And the Yelm Loop, also known as the Yelm Bypass, has been something that's been a big issue for us, a big project for us, and it's going to really transform the way traffic moves here in Yelm. That, along with a combination of three roundabouts, there's going to be like 4 or 5 different roundabouts, but 3 major roundabouts will be the big help for moving traffic in Yelm, and 2 of them are outside the city limits. And so with Pierce County, they have one proposed, and it's funded and it's going to be built. It's in front of the elementary school. And that's the huge bottleneck for us in Yelm. So whenever traffic comes to a standstill, it's usually because of either I-5 or heavy traffic coming from like Pierce County, from Spanaway, from Puyallup. It all converges on that stoplight in Pierce County. And fixing that, turning that around about will make traffic flow a lot smoother and faster. And that, with a combination of the other roundabouts planned in Yelm and the bypass, which we're starting construction next year, it's going to transform traffic issues here in Yelm, and it's going to reduce traffic a lot. And yeah, people are frustrated though, and rightfully so. They've been talking about this project, the Yelm Loop, for over 20 years. Since I was a kid in Yelm, it was conceived. Like literally in the 90s, in the 2000s, early 2000s. This is when we were starting to talk about it. And funding finally was achieved in the mid 2000s, like 2006 or 7 is when they started going after money. And then they built the first phase, and they stopped because they couldn't get funding for the rest. And so as a council member, that's something I advocated for, wearing my lobbyist hat. And, that wasn't my role necessarily as a city council member to lobby for this, but I was always chatting with our legislators, like, this is important for us. We need this. What's the status? How can I help? And as mayor, I thought, it was scheduled to be built, started construction this year. Then the governor in his budget pushed it back to past 2030. And I was like, man, this is like over 3 decades that we're waiting for this project. That's what people hate about government. It's like the frustration, that the time it takes to do things. And so my goal has just been focus on a few things, including transportation, public safety, recreation. I sound like a broken record, but that's the big things that I focus on. And I try not to stray too far from those, because that's
Sounds
what
like
people
you're
want.
listening. Sounds like you're
Yeah.
listening. It sounds like that's the stuff that you hear the residents say that they need the most.
Yeah, it is. And there's always people that want certain special things, whether it's, more park space, more like a soccer field, or any of these things or maybe an electric vehicle charging station. I appreciate those things, and I do work on them. But my main focus 100% has been transportation, public safety, and recreational opportunities. Just those, making sure those are taken care of. And at the end of the day, after I'm done mayor, I believe in term limits personally. We don't have any in Yelm, but I do a self-imposed two-term limit on myself. So I've done 2 terms as city council member, and hopefully I'll be able to do 2 terms as mayor, and then hang up my hat and go out to pasture.
So what happens after that? After you're done?
I go back to being a private citizen, just working on me. I'm 37 years old. I still feel like I'm in the prime of my life. I'm reaching that, I'm still getting there, but yeah, I'm giving the best years of my life to the city, and I think I deserve my own free time after that. I haven't missed a single meeting since I first started. I think I'm the only council member or mayor that's ever done that. But yeah, every Tuesday I'm here. I've never missed a single meeting or single vote.
Talk that stuff, Joe. I love it. That's so cool, man. That is so cool. I think that it is amazing that you've imposed the 2 and out rule, because you see so many times in politics where literally there's people almost being enrolled into the office because they've been there for so long. Nobody wants to run against them, and they're just there, right? And they know that they're going to be elected, reelected, and they're just there. It sounds like you're really fighting for the citizens, and that is so incredible, man.
I appreciate it. But I mean, no shade thrown to all those people though that are in those positions for decades. Let's say, well, that's a little while, but there's institutional knowledge, right? That you have for being there so long. You understand how things work. You understand how things get done. You can be more efficient, more effective. That's part of it. That's part of the trade-off. If you have someone coming in 8 years is a long time. I feel like that's a long time to be mayor. But after the end of 8 years, if I wanted to go, I probably could do another term. I got elected with 71% of the vote last time, which is pretty decent amount. And I feel like, even if I got a super tough opponent, I don't feel like over 30% would have to vote against me. Well, excuse me, 20%, my math isn't right. Over 20% would have to vote against me for me to get unelected. And I don't see that unless I'm doing something crazy that I don't, some scandal that happens. But short of that, I feel like I'm doing a decent job and people are happy with the way things are going.
Yeah, I would imagine once somebody get to that point where they've did 2-3 terms or whatever and they leave, I could totally see that person being a mentor for the new mayor. Could you see yourself in a role like that once you're done? Or
yeah, I mean, I'd be willing to help out whoever the next mayor is. The biggest thing that scares me, like after I leave, we have such a good thing going right now. With our staff morale is really high, and it hasn't always been that high. And it's not just me saying it; it's different people in our city that I have one-on-ones with everybody, and I've been hearing that morale is good. Things are changing. They're changing for the better. People are happy. They're happy to work for the city. They're happy at their jobs, their careers here in Yelm. We've got people like longevity. We have a lot of people that have been here for over 10 years, over 20 years, and some that are even pushing 30. And that's dedicated. I don't care what organization you belong to. If you're giving 30 years of your life to a certain organization, that's pretty special.
That is special. I was curious about something. Most mayor positions, they are part-time, right?
Correct.
Why is that?
That's a good question. I'd say it's not necessarily a good thing to have a professional mayor. You want people that are just your average person, you're the people that live here. You don't, excuse me, I shouldn't say you don't. I don't want professional politicians. That's what I don't like. These career politicians that, and I'm one step away from being a career politician, I guess, if I keep going up. But I feel like I've been very vocal and clear that I only want to run for local office here in Yelm. And I've had opportunities, just even most recently, for state representative. I could have ran for that in the second district, and I was approached by our delegation here to do so. And I was very close to doing it, but at the end of the day, it's just I didn't have enough bandwidth to do everything. And I'm also opening up an escape room here in Yelm. I think I shared that with you.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm just busy. I'm a busy guy.
No, I love that. I'm curious, and you saying that's a perfect segue. I'm curious about I'm sure there's some tough days that you have in being a leader. What motivates you and refocus you to continue serving?
Being mayor,
I'm sure there's some days where you're just like, man, I'm fucked. I quit, or this is my last day. There has to be some moments.
Yeah, there's times where it's pretty rough, and I'm getting either my name dragged through the mud on Facebook or on social media somewhere, or I have to listen to a heartbreaking story from someone saying, they couldn't get a service, or they're, they don't have any money, and it's hard. Times are tough, and that sucks. The thing that gets me motivated, I suppose, I look back, I always think about what the city has given to me and the opportunities it's given me. And it's been a lot. That's the whole reason one of the biggest reasons I did want to give back and serve as a first city council member and as mayor is to give back. And I think most politicians, most elected officials do so to give back as a service. For me, Yelm's treated me so well over the years. I thought I got a good education from Yelm. One of my best memories and experiences that not many people have was when President Clinton came to Yelm, and it was the first time, and I think it's our only time we've had a presidential candidate and sitting president come to the city of Yelm, was back in, I want to say, like 95, when he was running for re-election. It was 96, maybe it was 97. Maybe it was 97. When he was running for re-election, and he stopped in Yelm, and I was part of the choir at Prairie Elementary, and we're a bunch of choirs sang, and we sang a song to him and his wife Hillary, "If It Takes a Village." And I'm not a good singer. I'm not gonna try to sing it for you, but I karaoke, but I rap these days. It's not I don't sing well. Anyway, he invited us out to his inauguration in DC, and our community came together, and the community raised about $120,000, and that was to outfit us with clothing, like with all these, pre-elementary uniform type stuff. The jackets, it's cold over there. Holy smokes. I don't know if you've been to DC, but it's cold in January. And so we had all these coats and all this gear and all that stuff. It paid for that, paid for our transportation, paid for the hotel, chaperones, paid for our food. And so anyway, it was a lot of money to be raised. And Yelm's not necessarily a very wealthy community, but the one thing Yelm does better in most communities, I'd say, and makes us unique, is we come together. We always come together for our own. And we do it time and time again. I can't, it's countless times that the community comes together and helps out people that are in need here in Yelm with whatever it is. And they've done so much for me over the years. And that was a wonderful experience. Got to sing the president, got to shake his hand, get an autograph from him. Just that experience in itself, once in a lifetime opportunity. You don't get that everywhere. And so over the years, Yelm's just always been treating me really well. And I wasn't sure if I was going to be one of those kids that came back after college or after high school. I just wanted to move out, do my own thing. There's a lot of people that don't come back, and I don't blame them. Yelm's a smaller city, and we don't have the services and some of the stuff that bigger cities offer. And, it's hard to have a tech job in Yelm unless you telecommute these days. But if you're working for Amazon or, working for Microsoft, you usually want to live closer to those places. I'm fortunate where I have a job where I can live in Yelm and commute to Olympia, and it's a 30-minute drive. It's not that bad. I know there's a lot of people that commute a lot further though than that. But yeah, I'm straying off topic a little bit.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. I love it. I love it. I was curious, that moment with the president, does that moment, did that kind of spark your interest in politics?
Not necessarily. No, okay. I wanted to be an attorney for a long time. I wanted to be a lawyer and do that, but the schooling, it's a lot more education you have to do, a lot more time, and it's just not what I really wanted to do. I enjoyed other things, and there was a time when I wanted to work overseas as a diplomat, and for that you had to learn a new language, and the languages that were offered at Eastern were Russian and Spanish at the time, and I wanted to learn Mandarin or Korean or Japanese, and they did not, like an Eastern Asian country, and they didn't offer those, so I switched over to like poli-sci, and that's what I did.
Wow. That's incredible. Something that I've been wanting to know. I know that you like hobbies like Star Trek, poker, tennis, 90s hip hop. I read. Yeah. Are these the things that you do to keep you grounded?
Yeah, I suppose so. I've always enjoyed playing poker. I used to play online back in the day in college when it was still legal in Washington State. It's now a Class C felony, which is nuts to me, but that's a different story.
You sure you still don't play it?
I can't. I mean, there's some that do the VPNs and all that, but I'm not willing to risk a Class C felony to play poker. But yeah, I still play poker. I go to Little Creek Casino every once in a while, play one of those bigger tournaments. I'll go down to Vegas. I'll play some tournaments down there. And yeah, I enjoy that. I like karaoke, and I'm not a good singer, so I don't have a great voice, but I can rap pretty decent. And so I do some Sir Mix-a-Lot, and
Biggie, Tupac,
Snoop Dogg.
Who else? Oh yeah,
Snoop Dogg. It's a little gin and juice.
Man, we got to get some footage of that, man. That would be cool.
My gosh, there's definitely footage of it around, and it's not a good look for me, but it is what it is.
Man, you'd be surprised, man.
Yeah,
that is amazing. So it sounds like what I'm getting from this conversation, it sounds like the work that you do is hard work. It sounds like that it could be stressful at times. What I'm getting from you is that it brings you joy to serve the citizens, and that's what makes it all worthwhile. And you take time and you invest in yourself. That's the lesson that I got from this episode. Did I miss out on anything?
No, you're right. It's all about service. For me, I live to serve in so many of my different capacities. It's just service, and I do enjoy, helping people when I can, giving back to this community that's given me so much, and planning for the future. That's one of the biggest things that I guess worries me, is what happens after me. And not that I'm the greatest or anything, but I have a good thing going right now for the city, and I think we're going in the right direction. And it's worrisome for me, like in the future, what our streets are going to look like, what our towns going to look like. With we're talking about 640 acres that we're going to be developing, making sure that we're planning for the infrastructure for that, for the roads. Make sure we have the roads in place before all these houses come out. Make sure we have amenities like a medical facility or a YMCA that our people should have, and these are things that I would like our community to have in the future. And those are the type of things that I worry about, what the future is going to hold and what we're going to look like here, not just 5 years from now, 10 years, but 50 years, 100 years. We're celebrating our 100-year anniversary this year, our centennial, and from when we got first incorporated. And we have pictures of all the mayors that are in Yelm, from our first one to me, which I'm the 16th mayor for the city of Yelm. And I look back at all these different people, and I was like, what life must have been like when you were mayor. Different issues. I mean, public safety is probably common throughout everyone, making sure that we have a safe place to live. But I just wonder, what the next 16 mayors are going to be like,
Yeah.
what we're going to look like next 100 years.
Do you
Yeah.
feel like there were any challenges that maybe you went through that the other 15 didn't have to go through?
Yeah, there's probably things that, I mean, my journey onto council and as mayor, I had to earn everything that I got.
Mm.
Like, it was, they didn't want me on council, first of all, when I first ran. I tried to go for an appointment seat a lot earlier in about 2000, I think 12 or 13. I tried to get appointed for a city council position. And, I wanted to, I wanted to serve then. And the council, I didn't get a single, like a nomination to, well, excuse me, I got a nomination, but I didn't get a second. And so I know there's a lot of people that want to do it now that have been going through the appointment process, and I feel their pain. It sucks. But yeah, when I was on council, I didn't have the support of any of the council. When I first ran, I didn't have the support of any of the council or the mayor at the time. I was running against someone that was kind of the establishment, someone who was on the planning commission, and she's actually elected now. I'm good friends with her, Terry, but she got a lot of the support from. I don't want to say it kind of was the good old boy type of crowd, the old families in Yelm that have been around for generations, and I didn't get any of that. What support I had was from the people, though. I went to doorbell. That's when I doorbelled the hardest, my first election. And, I just said, this is what I want to see in Yelm. I want to increase transparency. And that was one of the things that when I came on, I really urged and demanded that we did that. I was able to get enough 4 votes on council to start videotaping our study sessions, which might not seem like a big deal, but it's crazy to me that we weren't able to videotape and hear what was going on. This isn't like in the 90s when the internet was just, starting to come out or starting to see things on the internet. This is 2015. This isn't, or 2016. This is, not too long ago. We have the technology to do this, and we weren't. And so I was very happy that we started doing that. But yeah, it was a hard journey for me. I was always on the losing end on the majority. I was always in the minority. I didn't have, for votes, I didn't have a lot of my stuff get through. And so the stuff that I did have to get through, I'd have to get allies from the majority. And a lot of times I would give them the ideas or give them the whatever I was trying to push, whether it's more police officers or more transparency or whatever. And they would bring it up and they would get the support and all that. And so I got my way in a kind of backhanded way, I guess. But
I love that. I love that. So you care so much for the citizens that you were willing to give your ideas to other people because you know that it would get passed if it went to those other people. So that's you using your lobbying skills. It sounds like.
Yeah. Well,
that's awesome.
It's amazing that there's a famous quote, and I'm probably butchering it, but there's a famous quote that says something to the effect that it's amazing what can be accomplished if you don't care who gets the credit. And I appreciate that. I think that so many times people are grandstanding, politicians are grandstanding, like, this is what I'm going to do for us. This is what, like, who cares who says it? I mean, part of it's the election process and the campaigning that they do that for. And I get that. But like for us, if someone wants to run with something, I try to empower our city council. If our city council members want to do something or they have an issue that, I probably agree with, or I can hand something off to them and let them take the charge and the lead on it, I will absolutely do that. Same with our staff, making sure that they get the recognition that they deserve. Because like I said earlier, it's not me being a great mayor, it's the people that support me that make me a great mayor. And so if they're pushing ideas that are amazing, let them. They deserve to have the credit. They deserve to, be shining.
Wow. That sounds a lot like servant leadership. I really appreciate the time that you took to speak to me. This is amazing. What an incredible interview. For those of you that are not watching this, you're listening to it. I got an amazing view of Mayor Joe. He is sitting inside of a spaceship. That I think that goes a lot. That says a lot about who you are. That says a lot about your character and not taking yourself serious. I think that that is amazing. And it is a testament to the things that you've been able to do and have the people behind you the way that they've been behind you. And I want to say thank you for your leadership. Thank you for leading me today, because you gave me some gems that I'm just like, oh man, I can't wait to go back and write that down, because that was so good. So from the bottom of my heart, man, I want to say thank you for blessing me with this today.
Oh, I appreciate it, Tony. Thanks for having me. This was fun. And yeah, this is the Starship Enterprise, Enterprise D to be exact.
Hey, before you go, man, tell me about your love for Star Trek, man.
Yeah, I very much love Star Trek. Obviously, I go down to the convention in Vegas every year. I've done that since about 2016, and I just have a blast there. I love meeting all the actors. It's so cool where you can just walk to these people, and they have these vendor booths where they're signing autographs or selling stuff, merchandise, and you see just random people. Just like, you don't see the big stars like Patrick Stewart, obviously you don't get, but there's a guy named Garrett Wong, he plays Ensign Harry Kim on Star Trek Voyager. And he's just like a very casual guy, very open to chatting with you. And I just love saying, hey, what are your thoughts on A, B, or C? Not necessarily like nerd stuff, like where I'm like, I'm very much nerd, but I'm like, oh, what was the photon cannon? That was a little bit different, shouldn't have been. I'm like, no. But I just like ask him as a real person, what his thoughts are on different things. And it's just cool having a casual conversation with a guy, with others, with all these actors. But yeah, I love Star Trek. I'm enjoying the new seasons, the new shows that are coming out. Lower Decks is probably my favorite so far. It's a good Trek series, and yeah, I'm loving all the Trek.
Oh man, that's so cool. That is so cool. I think that is also a testament to, being who, leaders should be who they are. They shouldn't try to fit into the crowd. You love Star Trek. I'm sure there's listeners, there's viewers, there's people, they're into certain things that maybe they hide it because they don't think that it's cool. They don't think that it's very professional, but I think that it's the other way around. I can't imagine how many people see you and they're just like, oh my God, I really resonate with this dude because he's just a normal dude. And I think that is so cool. And please don't change that. I think that is amazing, man.
No, I appreciate it. I try to live my life like that. It's down to my core. I truly believe we're all equal. Like, there's no reason that I'm better than you or you're better than me for all these different things that people want to say, whether it's like money or status or whatever. Like, we're all going to die at some point. We're all born. We're all in the same place. Like, I just don't get why people have to be stuck up or treat other people like they're not humans.
Yeah. No, before we go, tell me about this escape room. If you can talk about it. I would love to hear about that.
So
this is a show about entrepreneurship, and I failed to freaking dig a little bit deeper on that. Let's get into that before we go.
Yeah. So another one of my hobbies is going to escape rooms. Do you know what an escape room is?
Yeah. For the people that don't know, let us know. I'm not good at them. I'll tell you that.
I'm not the best either, but I enjoy them. They're fun. They're good for like a date night. Me and my fiance, we go to escape rooms here and there, and sometimes you don't get out, but it's just enjoyable. So what you're in a room and you're locked. The quote, air quotes, you're not necessarily locked. And the one that I'm building, you won't be locked in. So if you're like claustrophobic or you just want to get out, you can get out. But you're in a room for an hour. It's usually the length of time, and you're tasked with all these different puzzles. And it's usually a story or a theme. The two that I'm going to do is the water tower, the Yelm water tower, and the others.
I love it.
Oh, I can't. It's like hold on. What's the name of this? Mystical. Oh, it's a cool magical might, a mystical mic. It's about just this magical might guy or mystical might guy. But anyway, so the water tower, though, you're trapped in the water tower. You're trying to restore it. there's fires that are coming and you have to restore the Yelm water tower before the fire gets here, or else bad things are going to happen. And so you're trying to do all these puzzles that involve turning the water back on, and you'll have to try it out sometime. But you're supposed to be feeling like you're inside a water tower, and the immersion for me is what's important. I like people to be like transformed in this area where like they can escape into a water tower. They can, for the magical Mike or mystical Mike, they can go into a cavern and it looks like a cave type. And yeah, the immersion. So anyway, you're supposed to get out within an hour, and you have these puzzles that you solve, and you finally solve everything, and you see a last puzzle, and it's like, oh, you escaped. And it's a lot more fun than I'm explaining probably.
No. It is. In all of them that I've been to, the lady is like, usually she's like, or the attendant, they're like, do you need help?
Yeah.
Do you need help?
Yeah.
That actually sounds cool. So when are you all looking to open up?
So I'm hoping in the middle of June. We've been building now. We got in there. It's called Quark and Odos, also a nod to Star Trek, but it's hopefully going to be open in the middle of June with 2 rooms, and then later in the year with a 3rd room.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to that. Please keep me in the loop. I'll make sure that I let the listeners and the viewers know when that opens up. Oh, and I'm sure that you building this does not come without its challenges. So I want to send you my love on that, because I'm sure you're going through it.
Yeah.
So without further ado, man, again, Joe, thank you so much for hanging out with me for this past hour. It has been very, very, very insightful. I've walked away with so much information, and I'm sure that our viewers and listeners, they've done the same. So thank you so much. Thank you for allowing me to travel with you on your journey. I want to say thank you for the things that you're doing, the things that you've done, and the things that you're gonna do, because I know that you're gonna do something truly amazing. Remember, I'm here to stand by you as you chase your dreams, lead with greatness, and continue to make a difference. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so that you can be notified every time we drop a new episode. I'll see you next time on Leaders Lead the Podcast. Peace.